Hey, what's up? In this video, I want to share some thoughts about meditation and how you can reframe certain misconceptions that are very common nowadays to have a more peaceful and transformative experience with meditation and how to truly make it a daily habit. Because when I first started, when I was around 17, it was very difficult for the first few months, years even, to really commit to a daily practice and to not get discouraged with meditation, because I had some very deep misconceptions which I'm gonna reframe in this video. So stay tuned for those and some recommendations for books and resources at the end. So the biggest misconception that there is about meditation is that there is such a thing as bad meditation. That when thoughts come up, when certain negative feelings arise, when we have cravings for porn or video games or social media, for some sort of external stimulation, that we are not doing it correctly, we are meditating in a bad way, thus we should quit, basically. But this is not what meditation is about, is what I realized. I thought that when my experience is difficult to navigate, in fact, when anything negative arose, the thing is I tried to navigate that experience by changing it. I thought that meditation has to be peaceful. It has to be just like rainbows and butterflies. But the true transformative effect of meditation is when you allow everything to be as it is, you realize that it is perfect as it is. Because you begin to question your thoughts and observe your own efforts to manipulate the present moment. And when you learn to take a step back from your thoughts, feelings, and desires, and desire for manipulating the present moment, then you become much more peaceful and creative and happy, because you begin to flow with life instead of fighting against it. And after many months and years of struggling, I learned this profound lesson that I don't have to struggle against anything that arises in life and during formal meditation sits. I can simply be with whatever is and trust that whatever arises is correct. So let's jump right into these 5 key points because these are very juicy. The very first misconception that I had is that I don't have time for meditation. Now, this is very funny because actually I did have lots of time. I just simply didn't prioritize it in the way that I needed to have space for sitting in silence for 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever time was fitting. Because, we always get lost in distractions like social media, watching TV, and things that get advertised and marketed to us. But nobody markets to us that we can find peace and happiness within and live a much more fulfilling and happy life by sitting in silence for 20 minutes, for an hour a day. And so we don't incorporate it into our lives. And what I would actually recommend is that if you don't have time for meditation, actually you need meditation the most. This is what I realized after studying meditation teachers, various ones, is that if you don't allow yourself to be for a certain amount of time every day, to balance doing with being, then there's going to be a disconnect. There's going to be some big consequences because we want to have a balance between those two. And in fact, there is a famous Zen saying that says something along the lines of, you should sit and meditate 20 minutes every day. Unless you're too busy, then you should meditate for an hour a day. And this really beautifully illustrates this point that we can make time for it. There's time. It's one of the most important things we can do to raise our awareness, to learn to appreciate the moment no matter what arises. Now, the second misconception that I had is that I had to try to meditate, that I had to master a certain technique, that meditation was a doing. And so I struggled to be a meditator, I tried to have the right posture, to avoid any mistakes, and to control my experience, to have it be meditation. But there's no such thing. What you want to achieve is not a certain state. You just want to become meditative. You want to learn to love reality exactly as it is and to let go of control. And Rupert Spira, a meditation teacher, beautifully says this when he said that meditation is nothing but a yes saying to all of experience. And negative emotions are nothing but saying no to life. And so we want to let go of that meditator identity. We want to let go of techniques and recognize that right now we are aware and that really nothing has to happen to be aware of awareness, but a simple recognition, a pausing of any doing, any thinking, any activity. By simply sitting in stillness, keeping the body still, the mind will follow and become still itself. And then we'll automatically revert to our true nature as the witness of all the coming and going of thoughts, feelings, and uncomfortable sensations. So the reason meditation was so difficult for me when I first started as a teen is that I tried to meditate way too hard. And what I had to learn is to relax in the present moment and do nothing. And simply find happiness in being without any manipulation, without any technique, without any doing. So this leads us to the third misconception, is that bad or wrongness objectively exists in reality. See, I was judging myself way too hard for anything that came up. Whether there was lots of thinking coming up, negative emotions, cravings for food, for social media, whatever it was. See, there's no such thing as bad. Thought projects badness onto the present moment. And prior to thinking, everything is perfect the way that it is. And how this relates to this topic is that you can't be a bad meditator. There can't be such a thing as a bad meditation session. Everything simply is the present moment before we think about it. And thus we can accept whatever comes up as long as we sit down for the time that we set for ourselves, maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour. Everything is fine. We succeeded. And this will actually be very purifying. It's a great process to learn that our true nature accepts everything exactly the way that it is. It doesn't say no. And learning that discrimination between what is it in us that is peaceful and watches, and what is it that tries to manipulate and tries to control, and gaining a little bit of a distance by resting as the witness. So the next misconception is very important, is that I was impatient, that I didn't have that long-term vision of what would it be like to become happy by doing absolutely nothing, to gain that ability to enjoy sitting in a room and be totally peaceful for an hour and have that sort of be the highlight of the day. This was sort of unimaginable just like 5 years ago. But nowadays, I truly look forward to my meditation sessions because it's like a diving into a source of creativity, of peace, a well of well-being and happiness, of acceptance, of love, and simply noticing, breathing, being conscious, letting go of all identities, not having to be a certain way, but simply resting as being is such a joy. And when we don't meditate, we don't have that mindfulness practice in our lives, then we're missing out on lots of peace of mind by recognizing that we actually are not the mind. We're the witness of the mind. Right thoughts, they come and go, but we, awareness, are permanent. And so meditation is one of the most life-changing things we can commit to. So just being patient, right? It took me over a year to have a daily meditation practice in place, but just that little bit of pausing in a day, that little bit of doing nothing, that cultivating a quiet and calm presence inside ourselves in a world that is increasingly fast and loud, wow, this is such a superpower. It's one of the biggest life hacks out there. Well, it is actually in here. So, what about the last misconception? The last misconception is that I thought that I'm a thought. And so I identified with being a thinker. And so when thoughts came up inevitably, as they do, they bubble up from nowhere, and I identified with them. And so whenever lots of thinking arose, I felt guilty and judged myself for it. But what we can realize by practicing meditation and witnessing the workings of the mind, we can gain some knowledge and learn all the intricacies of that machine. It's like a TV that is constantly yapping and playing. And we can learn to control it by learning to observe it. We can have some say in what is going on, some say in how we feel. And we learn to be responsive to life and not to be thrown around by it like a bird in a tornado, right? We gain that ability to respond consciously so that what happens in here is in our control. And one of the biggest ways we can do that is by realizing that we are not thoughts, we are not the mind, we are the witness of all that. And the witness is always there. And it doesn't matter what arises in meditation, as long as we keep observing and not reacting to it, by surrendering control and relaxing any efforts, letting go of the meditator, everything will be fine. There's an Indian sage, Nisargadatta Maharaj, who said that if you realize that you're not the mind, what does it matter if the mind is quiet or busy? In the end, you are not the mind. And so this is one of the most liberating realizations we can have. And we realize when we are still, when the mind is quiet, everything that we sought externally, we find internally. because peace and happiness are simply our nature. Our awareness is intimately connected to everything. And that is one of the biggest liberations in life, to realize that we are not separate from life. And we can, with meditation, answer these profound questions, existential questions of who am I? Why am I suffering? What is life? What is consciousness? What is the point of it all? And creative ideas. Because true creativity arises from beyond the mind, from stillness. Because the whole universe arises from a stillness that is ever present. The universe is constantly in motion. This is the Shakti energy. And then there's the Shiva rest of eternal presence of silence. And so reconnecting with that makes us much more flexible in life, realizing that there's something beyond the identity, the character that we are playing here on this stage of life. And this makes us much more resourceful. So, to conclude, let's summarize real quick. Number one is you do have time. Just prioritize and make time for it. You won't regret it. It's one of the most life-changing things ever. Number two, meditation is not a doing. It is an inner quality of accepting everything exactly as it is. It is meditativeness that we are aiming for, not a certain technique. Number three is that bad does not exist. There is a mental judgment, and the goal of meditation is not to manipulate experience, but to surrender to experience no matter what is happening. And fourthly, be patient. This is the most life-changing thing we can commit to. We want to ideally have a daily routine, a morning routine, where we incorporate that daily meditation practice. And we just want to make a choice that we're going to commit to daily meditation. And always bring ourselves back. If we quit for a few days, just have that long-term vision. This is one of the most important things there is, to cleanse our filters of how we see reality. Because if we don't see reality clearly, there will always be unnecessary suffering that we're projecting onto life. And we won't be realizing that. So there'll be lots of energy lost, lots of creative energy. We'll be less productive and resourceful in life. Right? It's like we have those filters, and if you're looking through this lens, you can see it's very, very foggy and dirtied up. But with meditation, we're cleaning that, and the more clean and truthful our perception of reality is, the more peace we'll be, the more fulfilled we'll feel, the more at one with everything we'll feel. And so this is very, very important. And so the last point is that we are not the mind, we are the witness of the ever-changing play of life. So when we learn to witness ourselves, we become much more peaceful and much more fearless and brave in life, and much more inspired creative force arises in us. And so lastly, I want to give some book recommendations. The first one is The Conquest of Mind by Eknath Easwaran. And he says, take charge of your thoughts and reshape your life through meditation. And this is really the main point. He really introduces why meditation is important and how to make it a daily habit. The last one that I want to recommend is True Meditation by Adyashanti. He has even guided meditation CDs in this book. It's just 80 pages long, and it really is a great introduction in how meditation can change your life, how to meditate by allowing everything to be as it is, and even asking existential questions of who am I, what is consciousness, and why do I suffer. Very great introduction, those two books. And that's all about it. The last quote that I want to share is also from Nisargadatta Maharaj, where he says that meditation is the only remedy, right, to all of the sufferings of life, by simply questioning who we are and realizing that we are more than a mind and a body, realizing something transcendent, that this is the way out. The only way out is in. And the longer we walk the way of life, the more we'll realize that. So it's just a question of how on board are we and how willing to question our beliefs about life, our thoughts about life are we? How brave are we to turn within, to learn to rest in being and take breaks from doing, to become much more creative and resourceful forces in life. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, please leave a comment of how you liked this video, what lessons you learned, if you've had experiences with meditation, how it's helped you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Please leave a like if this was helpful for you, and subscribe to the channel if you want more topics on mindfulness and topics of self-actualization and living the good life, the inspired life, and leaving no things unactualized. Our potential inside of ourselves is infinite, and so I want to share resources to go about doing those things and sharing my journey at the same time. And yeah, this is the mission of this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and any feedback is appreciated. And thanks for joining me on this journey. And have a wonderful week. I hope you have a meditation practice after this. I don't know what will inspire you to start. And just forgive yourself, keep going, and namaste. I'll see you soon with more. Peace out.